So today we are going to embroider a nose, a mouth, and then we're going to stitch this piece on, and then we're going to embroider some sleepy eyes. Now this is kind of the fun part because you can kind of put your own personality onto this teddy bear if you want. You do not have to do it exactly like I said. If you like opened eyes or you want to do the child safety eyes and you have some on hand, you are welcome to do that. Just because the design of the blanket, which I know that makes it kind of hard because you guys don't know what the finished look is, I like the idea of the sleepy eyes, but you could do a combination of them too. So remember, on the blanket you're going to have 5 teddy bears, and on the lovey you're only going to have 1. So, but having them awake is perfectly fine too. It's not going to ruin the blanket at all. So, okay, so you are going to need another contrasting color. So I'm going to do a sample on, I've got like kind of a medium brown, almost a cream color, and then my contrast is going to be this darker brown. Basically you just need this color to show up on top of both of these colors, and they can be different. I had one that I did, I can't quite show it to you because it'll give away what the blanket looks like, but where, let's see here, I think the teddy bear was gray, and then I did a brown nose and brown eyes, but the brown almost blended in with the second layer, like the headpiece. So then I actually did the eyes in an additional outline of black. So because sometimes you have to get a little creative with things. So you're going to start off, we're going to do the nose first. So we just need the muzzle piece here and your contrasting color, and get a decent amount of yarn. I'm going to guess about 2.5 feet of yarn, and get it on your tapestry. As I was showing you, there is kind of these open holes here, but when we are done with sewing the nose on, you're not going to be able to see those holes anymore. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make, now the way I like the nose is, if you've looked at the pictures at all that I uploaded this morning, you'll notice I like a wide nose. So it's going to end right here. This is going to be the point, and it's going to start here, and it's going to go almost all the way over to here. You can do a little tiny nose if you prefer a small nose look. It's totally up to you. So you're going to find this middle stitch down here. So this looks like the middle to me, and you're going to come up through the back side. Let's see how talented I am here. See if I can do this through my phone screen. So, and trust me, I am not a pro at this, and there's been many times I've worked halfway through and I'm like, I don't like it, and I rip it all out and I start over again. So just pull this up, and I pull it through most of the way, just enough so that you have enough to kind of tie off and hold that in place back there. Now you're going to start off, I'm going to come over, I'm going to start on this side, and then I'm going to work my way over. So I'm going to come through, hopefully we can, I'll try to get this close up. Oh, this light color might be kind of hard to see. So you can see these are the slip stitches that I worked, and then if you roll over, this is the top of the single crochets. We are going to work through, so we're going to come in about 2 stitches from the side. So here's 1, 2. So we're going to start right here on the edge of this next stitch here. So you're going to go into the top. This is the top of the slip stitch here. So see, here's the slip stitch right here. So you're going to go into the top of that, but leave the single crochet row out. So can you see that? So my needle goes in behind the slip stitch, but doesn't come out here until it's behind the single crochet. And then just pull that through, and this is going to be the one side of your nose. So that's the edge of it. Now if you come up through this every single time, it's going to get super bulky here and get thick, like a thick height on it, and you don't want that. So since we've got a long ways to go, I kind of work my way up a little bit. So my next stitch, instead of coming up through this same spot right here, I'm actually going to go up just a little bit. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just up a little bit higher. And there is no specific, there's no rules. This is just kind of a learn as you go. And then we're going to pull this back up, and again go through the top of that slip stitch, but leave the single crochet out. And it's what this does is it creates it so you still have a nice edge of single crochets. So you still have an edge up here on that muzzle. So we've done 2, and now we're going to come back through. And again, this is just kind of an eyeball and see where we're going. So again, I'm up a little bit higher. Good morning, Lindsay. Thanks for joining. We're stitching on the teddy bear nose right now. And again, go through that top of that slip stitch. And again, I apologize. I really need to start testing these on the camera to see how these turn out, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And it's coming through. And then you might want to kind of drop back down a little bit. Because if you do this the whole way and then come over here, then sometimes there's a gap of that lighter color in there that you don't want to see. So you kind of go up and down with your rows to kind of cover everything. And I do approximately three wraps per stitch. So like these three wraps, here's 1, 2, 3. Those are probably going over 1 single crochet or 1 slip stitch on average. It's always a little bit different. So you want to pull them so that they're tight, so they're not loose, but you don't want to have them actually pulling the piece and scrunching it together. So I'm going to come back up and do a short one up here. And then come back down here. So I don't know if you can see, but we're just kind of slowly working our way over. Now I'm going to come all the way down here so that we can cover up this section of this stitch right here. And see, once you cover that up, you can't really see the uneven edges. It kind of brings it all together. So hopefully this is making sense and I'm not confusing you guys more. Again, if there's a technique that you guys prefer or that you like, you are welcome to do it however. And I'm going to kind of come back down. Pull that through up there. I like to kind of get a couple down in here as I go, especially in the middle. Bring it back up. And if you mess up and there's a big gap in there, you can always come back. So say there's a big space in here, you can always poke your needle right through the middle and cover that space up. I worked one up this morning as my kids were brushing their teeth, and I ended up having to do that a couple times. And it's not noticeable when you do that. And it's perfect. Oops, sorry, I got that totally out of the screen there. Kind of come down here. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going back and forth with the height of my stitches. We're about halfway done through here. This is kind of, you might get a little bored here watching me, but we're just going to stick with it and finish up this little nose. Again, if you like little noses and you don't really want to go with the big one, that's perfectly fine. This is personal preference. I kind of like the big nose on the teddy bears. I think it gives it a little cute personality in there. So, hi Sue, thank you for joining. We're just kind of working on this nose here, slowly getting it done. I'm going to start working up here a little bit. So, and every once in a while it's good to kind of stop and look and think, okay, I got these 2 stitches here, these are the same 2 stitches here, so I think I need to come over 1 more stitch on this side, and I think that will make it even. So let's do a few more to get these holes covered up in here. See, we're getting really close to being done. Come back over. Once you think you're almost there, make sure you work a stitch, your first and last stitch, and make sure that you start at the very, very bottom, because that's kind of going to be the main outline. Oh, and see, look, I just pulled my other beginning yarn through, so if you do that, just make sure to pull that out. So see, then you can kind of sit back and look and say, oh, you know what? I need to go further this way. And it looks like, use your needle if you need to kind of poke stuff down or smooth things out too. Kind of have a little bump in here. It's crazy because I can see it on the camera, but not really in person. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more in here. Maybe do a short one and then another long one, and we'll see where we're at. And it doesn't have to be perfect either. I don't think I've ever seen a perfect teddy bear nose, even on store-bought teddy bears. So just don't stress too much about it. Sometimes those little quirky things are what make them so stinking cute. So, okay. So, see, to me, I still feel like I need to go over this way a little bit more. And do another one here. I'm going to kind of click it over here a little further than I probably should. Okay, I think that looks good, but see, I've got this little white spot here. So maybe pull that one over and get your needle coming up through there, and we'll do just a short one to cover that spot up. Okay, I think that looks pretty good right there. Sometimes you just kind of have to play with the yarn a little bit. Okay, I am happy with that nose. So now we are just going to turn it over and just tie a knot. And this is the back of your work here. So don't worry about it looking pretty. This is all going to be covered up. You don't have to bury yarn or anything. So I just do a simple knot, tie it, and then clip it so it's short but not too short. So see, I've still got some ends in there. And there's my nose, and I just realized I totally forgot to do the face on it. So we're going to come back in. So typically you don't need to actually clip off until you're done with the face, because on the nose, when you finish the nose, you're just going to come up at the very, very bottom, that very tip there. Perfect. Once it's centered, you're going to come through. So I'll just have 2 knots on the back of this since I totally forgot to do the face. And then we're just going to come straight down the middle. Okay, I don't have that centered there. There we go. Okay. You're going to come straight down the middle. Sorry here, guys. And that's going to be your line right there. And then just come up over here. I come up about a stitch over, maybe try to come up in between the middle of it. You guys can see that. Pull it through. Go right back in where that one was, where that one ended at the bottom there. And then you're just repeat on the other side. Try to make it about equal. So you're going to come over about a stitch, and you're going to come up kind of in the middle of that stitch right there. Pull up and go right back into the center there. And there is your cute little face. It's kind of a little smile, but not really. Now turn it over, and just like before, you're going to tie that knot. So again, if you don't forget, you can just do that right after the nose, and then you just have 1 knot back there. But again, that really doesn't matter too much. Okay. So there is your cute little teddy bear nose and mouth, and now we're going to sew it onto our head. So this is the end. This was my last slip stitch right here. So as you can see, I mean, the circle is not completely perfect. So these are those, these right here are your single crochets that kind of brought it down a little bit. So I like to either sew this, and you can I kind of do it different on each one, either where those single crochets were, or the next stitches over, or somewhere in between, just because this is not the perfect, it's not a perfect circle, and this kind of covers up that, I guess, the section where it comes down. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm just going to kind of sew this on right here. And again, I like to leave that row of slip stitches kind of showing. I'll have this right on top of it. It kind of helps give it that little tiny bit of that 3D effect. So now we're going to take the string from our the face of the teddy bear, and we're going to thread that. I'm going to click this. Oh. And this section, you don't have to worry too much about it being a pretty stitch or clean way to stitch on. You want the front of it to look nice, but the back doesn't really matter. I'm actually going to post a YouTube video that I did earlier about how to stitch on with a clean back, so you don't even see the back side of your work when you stitch something on. But this piece doesn't matter because the full head will be stitched to the blanket, and so you won't see the back of it. But if you want to practice, this is a great chance to practice on here. And so I'm going to kind of show it to you briefly on how to do that. So the main thing here is you want to make sure your nose is centered with your circle here. It's going to be kind of covered up a little bit, but if it's off a little bit like this, it's going to really stand out because you can just see there's the center of your circles here and it's off centered. So just make sure that that's centered and lined up with the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to try and do this here. Again, it's awkward looking through your cell phone to do this. So my yarn is still hooked to this. So I'm going to start by grabbing the front of these stitches here that correspond with it. So I'm just going through the first layer of stitches. So if you look at the back side of the head, you don't see my needle at all. So again, this is just kind of practicing for later. If you want to just go all the way through, that's perfectly fine. Then pull that through. And then I just kind of flip this over and look at where my next stitches are here. And I'm just kind of grab the back side of those. So again, if you look at the front, first off, your slip stitch row is going to totally camouflage and hide any yarns coming through. But you're just going to grab the back side of those stitches and pull that through. Okay, I just kind of hold it in place here. And then pull this back and grab the corresponding, so this is where my yarn's coming up, right here. So I'm just going to grab the back, or the front half of the next stitch there. So see, I just grabbed two, pull it through, and then grab the back half of that stitch and pull through. So you're just grabbing half of the stitches of each side. So front half, back half, front half, back half. Once you get going a little quicker, you can do them both at the same time. So on this one, you can grab the front half of this one and then just kind of flip this over and be like, okay, I'm right at this stitch. I'm just going to grab that and pull. And it's right in place, right where it should be. So then, and I usually do, that's how I usually do it. I do 2 stitches at a time. So I'll grab those stitches there and then come up and say, okay, here's my next stitch here. I'm going to grab the back half of that. You guys see that? And then just pull that through. So we're just getting that stitched right into place on there. Sometimes when you get to these little circles, it's a little tougher, so I'm just going to grab, see the front half of that stitch, come over and grab the back half of that, and that's actually, I'm grabbing those embroidered threads on that one, which is perfectly fine because they're nice and tight in place too. Come back over here and grab the front half of that stitch and then the back side of that stitch, whoops, and pull that through. Same thing here, just kind of grab, see, I'm on a corner here, so I'm actually grabbing this and that, which is the top of that stitch and the bottom of a chain there, or the top of another stitch. So, but you just grab about 2 threads, or 2 things of yarn, and pull through. Sometimes on the corners I go back to just doing one at a time just to make sure I get that nice corner done, so you're not twisting the yarn too much. And then you can go right back into that 2 at a time. And we're almost around the face here. Okay, and again, grab those back half the stitches, front half, All right, I see a few more people have joined us. Thanks for joining Sophie and Sherry, Sharon, and Anne Marie. Thank you, you guys. Good to see you guys on here this morning. All right, so let's see here. We just got the bottom to do. This is the easiest part because you're grabbing those single crochets. I think those are the easiest ones to get. And probably 2 more and we're going to be done. And then we'll go on to the eyes. So hopefully no one's too disappointed there's no actual crocheting in section 3 today. This is kind of one of the details that make this blanket so cute. Okay, so when you're done, I just kind of pull this forward. I grab any piece of yarn there, like that one right there. Pull through, and then just finish off with that knot. The final knot to secure it in place, and that kind of gets hidden down there. And then to hide it, just stick it through, grab a few of the fibers. You can feel it going through the fibers there, and then push it through the back. Okay, and then you can just snip this, and again, it does not have to be a clean snip. I actually leave it a little bit longer. That way, if it does work out a little bit, it's got a long ways to go. And now your little face is on right. Looks like I maybe needed to sew that one down a little bit further. So we've got our main face, and now we're going to get a little bit more of our contrasting color yarn. So I'm going to get some more of this darker brown. I'm hoping it's dark enough for the little face there, but we will see. I'm going to show you guys a couple different options for the eyes. So again, you can do the eyes how you want. We're going to work them as sleepy eyes. I've got 3 different ways that I show on the section today. I'll show you how I do one here. So if you look at this, you can kind of see there's these 2 single crochets, or 2 half double crochets right here that are kind of in the center of the nose. If I just put my needle straight up the mouth right here, there's those 2 right here. So I'm going to kind of use that as my guideline, and I'm going to come in on this side of this one right here. Pull that yarn up, and then I'm going to kind of come down. Oh, let's see here. We're going to just go down 1 stitch. So we came up through here, we're going to come down through 1 stitch. And again, this is kind of a visual thing. And then we're going to come up over here. So you just it will be different on each teddy bear. Again, depending on what size you make. And then we're going to come up to this one. So we're kind of making a U shape here. And you'll see it here in just a minute. So you can only see the 2 sides because this piece of yarn is behind. And then you're going to come up. And when I come up, when I'm doing embroidery and it's just 1 line of yarn, I actually come up through in between the fibers of this piece. So if you don't come up through the fibers, it doesn't line up straight. You'll see that one piece of yarn is lower than the other. So, hi Cindy, thank you for joining today. Okay. And then you don't want to pull too tight here either because you're going to pull that line down. And I should have a darker color here. This is not going to be super noticeable. And then you're going to come back down through this fiber of that piece of yarn right there. So can you guys see that? And it's just coming down here. So this is like the eyelid right here. Now you can leave it just like this and then repeat it on this side. Or you can do a couple little eyelashes coming down. On this sample, I'm just going to do 2 little eyelashes here in the corner. Almost like old lady wrinkles is what I call them, but they're still cute on little teddy bears. So I'm just going to kind of come up. So here's your last little, or the edge side here. I just kind of came up behind it on the one side. And we're just going to kind of bring it down here a little bit. So there's like a little wink almost right there. And then we're going to come up right on that side and we're just going to do 1 more little wink. And we'll come down here. And that side's done. I'm just going to stop right there. So I've just got 2 little eyelash lines here. Turn it over and we're going to tie a knot there. And this color does not stand out very well. So there is a chance I might come back in with a little bit darker brown and redo this. I'm I'm going to show you a couple of other little faces I've done to show you a couple of different eye options. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe from a distance you can see it a little bit better. So it's just kind of like a little half moon or half circle here with a couple little eyelashes that come down. So when it's laying on the blanket, that's kind of what it will look like. Again, I think that needs to be just a shade darker there. So here is another sample that I worked up this morning. This one this is just the little half circles, which is really cute, especially if you're doing boy and girl teddy bears. This is just a cute, really simple one that would be really cute for a boy. A girl would be cute too. We just got to add a little bow to it or something. And then this one is my sample with the 3 eyelashes that come all the way around. So it's just, again, it's that half moon circle, and then I just did an eyelash, 3 eyelashes coming down like that. So have fun today with your little teddy bear faces. Post them as you get done. And so see, there's 3 options. Again, be creative. If you will have a different way you want to do it, I would love to see it. And again, this is kind of the details that if we space it out and get this stuff done, and then I think on, let's see, Wednesday we have another section coming out, and then Friday, and then all of our teddy bear pieces are going to be completely done, and then we will move back onto the blanket next Monday. So if you have questions on this, please just post questions, and I will try to answer those. Tag me if you need to, and otherwise go out and enjoy this fabulous Monday. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.